There was a monastery nestled in the folds of two mist-covered mountains, where time seemed to move slower and the wind carried the scent of pine and tea leaves. In this quiet place lived a Zen master named Ryu, a man of few words and deep eyes that seemed to reflect both the sadness and the peace of the world. He had once been a warrior, it was whispered, who had laid down his sword not in defeat, but in awakening. Now people came from distant cities to sit in silence with him, hoping to hear answers to their restless questions. But Ryu rarely spoke. He answered with gestures or riddles or moments. His silence was not cold. It was complete. One rainy morning, a young man named Haru arrived at the monastery gates, soaked, shivering, and visibly broken. His once fine clothes were torn, and his eyes burned with the kind of desperation that comes when all illusions have finally collapsed. He bowed low and said, "Master, I have lost everything. My company failed. My fiancée left. My father no longer speaks to me. I have nothing left but questions, and none of them help me sleep. Please, tell me what to do." The old master studied him quietly, then gestured toward a bench near the river that curved beside the monastery grounds. "Sit," he said, "and watch the water." Haru, confused but desperate, did as told. He watched the river for hours. At first, he felt silly, even angry. But as the wind whistled and birds dipped into the stream, he noticed how the water moved without effort, how it flowed around rocks instead of fighting them, how it sparkled in sunlight, even while carrying leaves and mud. That evening, Master Ryu returned with 2 cups of tea and sat beside him. "What did you see?" he asked. Haru hesitated. "That water is patient." Ryu said nothing. They sipped tea in silence. The next day, Haru asked again, "What should I do about my life?" Ryu handed him a broom and pointed to the courtyard. "Sweep." The following day, "Now can you tell me?" Ryu handed him a knife and a basket of vegetables. "Chop." Each day followed the same rhythm. Haru would wake, perform some small task, sweeping, planting, gathering firewood, and return to Ryu with his question. And each time, Ryu responded not with words, but with simple, grounded tasks. Days turned into weeks. Haru's anger softened into confusion, and eventually into stillness. He began waking early without prompting, sleeping soundly, and finding joy in things he had once rushed past. The smell of clean earth, the dance of candlelight, the laughter of a monk stirring rice. His body grew stronger, his mind grew quieter, and without realizing it, he stopped asking. One afternoon, while meditating near the stream, he saw his reflection, not the exhausted, worried man who had arrived, but someone clearer. He smiled for the first time in what felt like years. That evening, Ryu sat beside him once more, and the master spoke without being asked. "You no longer seek the answer," he said, "and that is why it has arrived." Haru looked at him unsure. "But I don't understand what it is." The old man placed a hand on Haru's chest. "It is here," he said, "not here." He tapped his own forehead. "When the mind stops shouting, the heart begins to whisper, and it whispers the way home." Haru blinked. In that moment, the silence between them felt louder than any answer he had expected. He realized that his suffering hadn't come from his business failing or his relationship ending or even his loneliness. It had come from his refusal to stop running, to stop trying to fix life with more doing, more noise, more seeking. It was his addiction to answers that had kept peace out of reach. "So what should I do now?" he asked quietly. Ryu smiled and looked at the moon. Return to the world, but walk differently. Do not chase peace. Make space for it. Chop wood with presence. Listen to others without planning your reply. And when trouble comes, let it pass through you like wind through trees. Then you'll remember what you've already learned here, that life doesn't need your control. It needs your participation. Haru bowed deeply. Thank you, Master. Ryu nodded. Don't thank me. Thank the broom, the river, the vegetables. They were your teachers. I only gave them to you. When Haru left the monastery the next morning, he carried no map, no final instruction, no prophecy, just a deep breath, a clear gaze, and a quiet knowing. Years later, Haru became a teacher, not in a monastery, but in life. He worked in a small coastal town, helping young people find their voice through painting and music. He never told them what to think. He handed them brushes or pointed to the waves. One student once asked, "Why don't you just tell us the answer?" Haru only smiled and said, "Because you already know it. You're just making too much noise to hear it." And if this story found you at the right moment, maybe it's because you needed to be reminded. The most important answers arrive when we finally stop demanding them. Subscribe for more stories that bring your mind home to your heart.